Welcome, John.
Hi, Joe.
Afternoon session. We'll do have a look at the quote first, as usual, and then go into the lesson, and then the text. And try and get it done by 3 p.m. your time, because we have a power cut scheduled for then. So
Yeah.
Thanks for joining a bit earlier.
No, it's a pleasure.
Okay. All right, so share my screen. Does it not really make too much of a difference to you whether it's 12:30?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, so do you want to read today's quote?
Yeah, there is no failure in God's will and no success outside of God's will. Interesting. Good quote.
Yeah, could have been a quote from the Course of Miracles, as I point out.
Yeah, and it completely fits the lesson for the day.
Yeah, well, which is always my intention to kind of complement it or lead into it. An American Baptist pastor who died 30 years before the course was published said that. So yeah, just the truth is timeless. It comes through all people, through many different channels. Is the message. So there is, and then today's lesson. There is no will but God's or love's. So it's this will or awareness. Remember, we translating will as awareness of God or love, and only this will or awareness that will bring you happiness, peace, and joy. This is really the central teaching. Jesus says this is really the key idea in this course, in today's lesson. And then I just went on to talk about the spiritual definition of success. So we have all kinds of egoic ideas of success, usually related to external symbols. So people say, well, if you make money, that's a success. If you have a special relationship, that's a success. Having a family is a success. And so on. All the ego ideals of success, dependent on external forms, it believes are the success. And of course, it's all part of this version of external searching. It keeps the search for some salvation, something that's going to save you, that's going to make you happy outside of you. The Holy Spirit reinterprets the idea, as it does with all ego ideas, reinterprets the idea as a concept where we can actually find happiness, find peace, find joy. So to be successful is to be happy and peaceful and joyful consistently. That's really what success is in the Holy Spirit's eyes. If you can do that, then you're leading a successful life, irrespective of what is happening on the level of form. So you may have material abundance, you may not have much material abundance. The real abundance is in these states of mind and being. I think, to reference back to the movie, you saw again very clearly those thought systems contrasted. The Romans had so-called success, position, status, power. Clavius was a success in Roman, in his society's terms. He was quite high up. He had a position as a military tribune. He was climbing the ladder of his times to eventually he'd end up in Rome and be a senator, and yet something was missing. And then along comes Jesus and his disciples, who have nothing. There's no worldly power at all, no status, no power, no wealth, and yet they're just happy. They're happy, they're joyful, and they're dedicating their lives to a worthy purpose. And that That's really what true success is. So worth watching this. It was actually a session Sue participated. I'm not sure if you were there.
Okay.
Last year.
Right.
I think it was the first one she did.
Oh,
Yeah,
right. Okay.
yeah, because she joined the Miracle Network thing, and then I think she joined on the Sunday. I think that was the session that we did
Okay.
a year ago. So it was the first one. Yeah. So it'll be a bit of a blast from the past for her if she watches it. Um, and some interesting ideas around success and how to apply this. I was talking to Karen, who was talking about her business and how does this apply in business, and it's primary. It's they should teach you this in business school.
Yeah.
So like actually, what is the purpose of business? Because they never. I did a business degree 4 years. They never said what is the purpose of business. I
No.
mean, surely that should be 101. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's look. What is the purpose of business? What are the ethics of it? Because that's primary. That's foundational
It
to
is. Yeah.
your understanding. It's a bit like in the education system. They don't ask, well, what is consciousness? What is awareness? Who's the learner? Who's learning? They never ask that question in our formal education system, and that should be primary. It should be, okay, so what is this awareness I have? What is actually learning? What is the mind? That's the foundation, and then you go from there. So I think definitely we could create a new business curriculum designed around purpose, especially for entrepreneurs. So okay, so
Yeah.
let's really look at this. What is the purpose of business as a whole? How does that apply to your business? How do you take your purpose, your true purpose, that is going to actually make you happy and fulfilled? How do you take that into your business and make sure that your business is designed from that purpose, by that purpose, rather than, oh, well, yes, I see a gap in the market, so I'll go there because I think I can make money. And that's kind of the traditional version of it, isn't it? That it's all about money, and so therefore the function of the business is to make money
Yeah.
in an egoic mindset. And actually, the function of the business is to serve customers in a way that's valuable, that helps them, that serves them, and then of course they'll be willing to pay for that service. And so then secondary purpose, yes, you make money from delivering the value, but if there's no value proposition, there's no value delivery, then you're going to you've got it all mixed up, and people make this mistake all the time. You see that they make decisions based on a false purpose, based on, okay, well, my decisions based on money rather than on truth and purpose. So there's one particular instance. I don't know if I told you the story. I'll mention it again. So this chap called Steve Shapiro, he was a teacher, writer. He taught about listening, and so he recounts the story in his book and in his talks. He must have told millions of people. So he's busy writing this book, and he goes down to get his post, and he sees there's a flyer. It says like a special, swordfish and salad for $6.99 or something. It's in the US. So he phones them up. He says, yeah, I'd like the special. They say, yeah, no problem. Come fetch. It'll be ready in half an hour. So he does that, and then when he gets his thing, he presents the flyer, and the guy's face drops a bit, and he says, "Oh, actually, you've got the special." Oh, so he says, "Yeah, well, I did say that." He said, "Well, we've actually cooked you a piece of fish that you're not supposed to have." Oh, says Steve. So what am I supposed to have then? he says, well, something that's not quite as fresh and not quite as good a cut. Right. So he said, well, you got two options. You can either wait and we'll cook you the right one, or you can have what we've done and I'll charge you more. And of course, that's a misinterpretation of the purpose of the business.
Yeah,
Because the guy is thinking it's all about money, and so the $2 or $3 is what it's about. When in fact, it's about serving the customer. So just say, well, no problem at all. Don't even mention it. Just
yeah.
because then you keep the customer happy, and that's the whole purpose. And
Mm.
the $2 or $3 difference really is irrelevant. But he said it was a really good lesson, which of course he then wrote about and he taught, and I'm now recounting the story because it was a misinterpretation of the purpose of the business. That guy didn't think his purpose was to serve customers, to get and keep customers. He thought it was about making an extra couple of dollars on that particular transaction, which is a total misinterpretation. And of course, that would mean that the guy has another will in his mind, but God's or love's. Because love, what would love do? Love would something, of course, I'm here to serve you. This idea that I'm going to give you something, less than our best is crazy for money. So it all flows from this fundamental purpose of love. If that's not your fundamental purpose, then the ego is going to give you another one, which is the pursuit of money and power and status and these kinds of things. Okay, so shall we dive into the lesson then?
Yeah. The idea for today can be regarded as the central thought toward which all our exercises are directed. God's is the only will. When you have recognized this, you have recognized that your will is His. The belief that conflict is possible has gone. Peace has replaced the strange idea that you are torn by conflicting goals. As an expression of the will of God, you have no goal but His. Alternatively, the idea for today can be regarded as the central thought toward which all our exercises are directed. Love is the only awareness. When you have reckoned, love is the only awareness. When you have recognized this, you have recognized that your awareness is its. The belief that conflict is possible has gone. Peace has replaced the strange idea that you are torn by conflicting goals. As an expression of the awareness of love, pure formless awareness, you have no goal but its. I like this one because it's just kind of encapsulating that whole notion of there is only God's will, because everything else doesn't count, is an illusion, is a kind of a waste of space, really. And I think it helps me just to kind of, I used to have a bit of a resistance against God's will, only God's will, in the sense of, well, what about my own free will? But then we did that lesson on free will is a misnomer, because when we think we've got free will, actually all we're doing is following the random ideas of the ego. They're not really free will. It's, in fact, it's chained up will, because they're chained to old ideas, old values, and whatever. Whereas God's will is of benefit to everybody and all encompassing, and therefore I'm happy with there is nothing but God's will. There is only God's will.
Well, it's what he's saying is this is your true will, and this It's your true awareness. Awareness. That's why if you translate will into awareness, it can be a bit less threatening.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so will sort of implies some kind of coercion, maybe misinterpretation of the word will. Oh, so I'm just God's skivvy. I'm going to be doing a will that's not mine. I'm going to be under the control of some kind of power that's not me. And a lot of people reject it because that's the misconception.
Yeah.
And especially if you come from the traditional religious background,
Yeah.
the will of God. A lot of people are like, oh God, no, that's just nauseating. I have my own will. I have free will, and the idea of the free will is quite attractive if you've encountered that pretty oppressive notion of God that traditional religions
Yeah.
put upon us. This kind of judgmental, vengeful God that's looking over you, and like, no, you must do my God, you must do my will or else. This is kind of like
Yeah.
some kind of tyrant. You will do my will or else you will be punished, as the sinners that you are. And so, of course, there have been revolts against that idea. People have gone, no, I'm just got to reject that concept of God altogether. It's not for me. So yeah, the ego's free will actually looks more attractive.
Yeah.
In truth, yeah, as we said, free will is simply merging your awareness with true awareness. Your awareness is love's awareness or pure formless awareness. They are one and the same thing. And that will is totally free. There are no limits to that awareness. So
Yeah.
you're not bringing in thoughts of fear and attack and guilt and sin. And, these are the limits,
Yeah.
the limited awareness that the ego
Yeah.
specializes in.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it.
And I
John,
think
could
that's
we just?
a more helpful way of
Yeah,
thinking.
it is. It is for
Yeah.
sure. Could I
Mhm.
just go get a glass of water because I'm just going to get very dry.
Yeah.
Just give me 2 minutes.
Yeah. No problem at all. I'm going to do the same thing. William. Afternoon.
Oh, sorry, John.
No problem. Decided to relocate outside.
Yeah, okay, good.
It's a lovely day.
Yes. What temperature is it? Oh, you're 19 degrees?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It's on the screen there, yeah. I think it's actually feels warmer than that.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah. Yeah, well, generally April, May is still quite nice. It gets cold at night, but
Yeah.
during the day. And in winter, yeah, I mean often it's like this sort of temperature in the day. It's
Yes.
up to like 25, which isn't really winter by European standards.
No, it's 16 here today, and it feels nice.
Yeah, yeah. I like April. April, May. There's a lovely time. Okay, so and hopefully I'll be back next month.
Oh, right. Okay, great.
Well, I'm waiting for the Home Office. They've said yes.
Oh, right. Okay.
Your
Excellent.
visa will be granted because the judge has made the decision. So
Oh, right. Okay.
just waiting for it to be processed, which they're taking the time about. But
Yeah. So what does that give you then, John? Does that give you the right to stay as long as you want, or access to British citizenship, or
it's a settlement visa, so I can
settlement visa? Oh, yeah. Okay.
stay for 2.5 years, and then at least
3.5 years. Okay.
two and a half.
2.5. Okay.
33 months, I think. So that's 2 years, 9 months, and then I have to renew it, which was the problem last time. I had to renew, and I didn't have the money to support it, so I had to come back, and then I had it coming, but it was coming in the next tax year, and so on. So it was that was the issue. Otherwise, I would have just renewed it and stayed. And then after 5 years, so you do that twice. And then after 5 years, you can get indefinite leave to remain.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then after 3 years of indefinite leave to remain staying there, you can apply for a citizenship and a passport. So it's an 8-year run.
Oh, okay. Right.
So
Right.
I'm starting again. But,
Oh,
hopefully
really?
this time we'll go through it uninterrupted.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
Anyway, we wouldn't be having this conversation if I hadn't had the break. So
No.
it's all good in a way. There's a reason for everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so let's restart the recording. So I think we got interrupted. Okay, let's try recording again, and okay, so you have a look at. So happy with number one?
Yes, very happy with that.
Interesting ideas about free will and God's will. That's quite a common problem I think people have with the idea of God's will.
And that is why there is great peace in today's idea. And
because it is your true will, and there is no other goal.
Yeah.
So there's no conflict.
And the exercises for today are directed towards finding it. The idea itself is wholly true. Therefore, it cannot give rise to illusions. Without illusions, conflict is impossible. Let us try to recognize this today and experience the peace this recognition brings. So what we're saying here is that, once we understand that free will is not in our interests and God's will is, and we align ourselves with that, and because if we get that fundamental understanding of that concept, we are at peace with it, and then we understand its total truth. And in that state, we cannot, we wouldn't enter into illusions, without which conflict is not possible.
Because conflict comes from the idea of another will, another mind, an alternative. So he's asking us to recognize that this is where all conflict arises, in our own minds. When we decide we have another will, and there is some other will but God's, or some other awareness but love's. I think that's maybe a more helpful way of saying it. Right. Some other awareness, because what is the will of God? And then how does that apply? I think often people have a bit of a disconnect between, okay, the will of God conceptually, that's a nice theory. Yes, I want to do the will of God, even if you accept that. Okay, so what is that will then? What is the will of God? How does that relate to my daily life? Whereas if you say it's the awareness of love, of a perfect transcendent love, and that awareness can show up in your life as kind thoughts, kind words, kind actions, that can direct your thoughts, words, and actions in a very specific ways to do things that are helpful for you and others. Now that becomes a bit more tangible and practical.
Yeah.
Which relates kind of to the idea of success. Okay, this can actually be very practical, very tangible. This will of God or awareness of love can be the driving force behind all of your actions in this life. Whatever you're doing comes from that state of mind, that awareness, and is directed by it. And that's, of course, what he's trying to help us to accomplish here with these exercises, to train our minds to listen only to that will, to be rooted only in that awareness, and let it direct all of our thoughts and our words and our actions. And then there's no conflict, because there's only one will. It's the will of love. It's the will to be truly helpful, to be kind, and that's then going to interpret every situation in your life according to that will, according to that awareness. And so everything then is directed by what he calls the Holy Spirit, which is the awareness of this will, this love. It's now driving everything.
Yeah.
So it's very, very fundamental to our entire lives if we make it so. As he says, this can be regarded as the central idea central thought towards which all our exercises are directed, to bring your mind into alignment with this one will, with this one awareness. Is what he's trying to do here.
Yeah.
One simple idea accepted by the mind then brings the mind into a state of unity rather than conflict. And conflict is then over in your mind. Even though conflict on the level of form might still appear to happen, in your mind you're not conflicted anymore, because the real conflict is internal. What really gets us is not so much the external, it's our own internal conflict, isn't it? And we feel torn between these two thought systems, and we don't know what to do. That state of confusion and uncertainty is not a nice state to be in. We all know what it feels like. It's like, well, what should I do then? I'm confused. I don't know which voice to listen to. And of course, then there's no peace. Your mind is split. What is this? Or it could be that. All these ideas jumping around, you vacillating between various options and ideas, and there's no clarity and no certainty. And I think one of the dangers of spiritual path is like, well, I've got lots of options. There's this, I could do this, and there's this option, and this, because there's many paths, there's many modalities, and it becomes clear when you say, okay, there's really only one will. Through all of these options, seeming options and paths and modalities, it can seem to be very confusing. There's actually really only one will. There's only one truth, and so let me align myself with that, and see that in all of them there's one idea and one will, one awareness behind them, which then unifies it. And then maybe I don't need to go, oh well, I need that option, or I need that option, or I can just go, well, there's one truth. The truth is here. It's in this particular path, in this course. So let me just learn it. I don't need to look anywhere else, because the truth's going to be the same in another path. But it's been shown to me here very directly and very obviously. So why am I avoiding it? Well, I think I'm going to find a better truth somewhere else.
Yeah.
And the answer is no. The truth is true, and it's not going to be better or easier to accept or more palatable or anywhere else. It's right here in this path, in these words, here and now. So let me study them, accept them, absorb them into my thought system, and make them mine. And then you have clarity, and it's like, okay, I'm not scattered and running around looking for the truth. I'm accepting that the truth is right here, right now.
Good point. I see that the rest of this lesson is practice.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll go into that.
Yeah, I mean, should we come back to this and do it in a meditation?
Yes. Yeah. Do you want to do the text? The text first.
Yeah. Let's crack that one.
Yeah. Okay. So let's have a look at the text, and then I'll guide you through a meditation to close the session. Let's just bring up the text reading, which is okay. So this one's called the decision to forget.
Yes, interesting. Decision to forget. See what that's about. Because this is in chapter 10, isn't it? Yes, the decision to forget. Okay.
Yeah.
Unless you first know something, you cannot dissociate it.
Yes.
So unless you first know something or believe you know something, you cannot forget it.
Yeah.
Knowledge must precede dissociation. So that dissociation is nothing more than a decision to forget. Okay. Yep. What has been forgotten then appears to be What has been forgotten then appears to be fearful. I'm not sure how he gets to that. What has been forgotten then appears to be. Oh, hang on. So he's saying we've got knowledge, we dissociate it from it, and we forget it, and then it appears to be fearful. Okay, so let's see why it appears to be fearful, but only because the dissociation is an attack on truth. So he's explaining here, saying it becomes fearful because the dissociation is an attack on truth. And it must be an attack on truth because knowledge, in the first place, I assume that the knowledge that we had is true, was sound knowledge, and therefore we have denied it in order to get away from it because we are fearful of it.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to accomplish.
No, that's fine.
For some reason, it's only allowing me to now do video on my phone.
Right.
I'm trying to record this. It's like, okay. So why have we just decided to do that? It's video. Oh, no, I don't want video. God, switch. All right. Okay, I don't understand why. All right, well, we'll just record it on WhatsApp then, I guess. That's all we can do. Okay, so sorry, John.
Yeah. Okay. So we just got to number 3. What has been forgotten then appears to be fearful, and then he explains it, but only because the dissociation is an attack on truth. So I'm thinking then that we chose to forget whatever it was because it was truth. And having denied truth, we then we get this sense of, I suppose we're coming back to this sense of guilt again, which then leads us back into fear. Then he says, you are fearful because you have forgotten. Fearful because you have forgotten. And you have replaced your knowledge by an awareness of dreams because you are afraid of your dissociation, not of what you have dissociated. So I think what he's saying, I think this is kind of like a whole sentence, really, 4 and 5. It needs to be read together. You are fearful because you've forgotten and replaced your knowledge by the illusion, because you are afraid of remembering.
You're afraid of your dissociation, not of what you have dissociated.
So you are afraid of the fact that you have disconnected, denied.
Yeah. So that dissociation creates the seeming alternative will of the ego, the belief in separation. So you're actually afraid of what you've done, this dissociation, which now means you have to falsely believe that you're something you're not, and not of what you have dissociated. So we're actually afraid of the ego, which is nothing. It's just a dissociation or a negative entity. See, hence that negative. Everything's negative because it negates the truth. It's a dissociation of the truth.
But it's interesting.
Very fearful.
It's an interesting idea, isn't it? That we're not afraid of what we've disconnected from. We are afraid of the fact that we have disconnected.
Yeah. And the ego is telling us that we're afraid of God. We're afraid of, and we invent a concept of God, false concept of God, to be afraid of. But in truth, we're actually afraid of the dissociation that we've done. We're afraid of that, the tiny mad idea that's now no longer a tiny mad idea in our minds. It's an enormous idea. It's huge and seemingly powerful and terrible and fearful. And we're not actually associated, we're not afraid of pure formless awareness in truth. How can you be? Because it's pure formless awareness is perfectly happy, perfectly peaceful, perfectly loving. There's really nothing to fear there. So when what you have dissociated is accepted, it ceases to be fearful.
So he's encouraging us here to go to ignore the ego and get back to what we have dissociated from, understand that, and it ceases to be fearful.
Exactly.
That's a nice
way. Why would you fear the truth? Why would you fear perfect love?
Well,
We
yeah.
go to our diagram. Bring it up quickly. Course manual. Why would you fear this absolute perfection, perfect awareness, perfect peace and joy and bliss? Why on earth would you fear that? When love is all you really want, how could you fear all that you really want? And a state of mind that's completely happy, completely peaceful. There's nothing to fear there. You look at our diagram. Why would you fear what's absolutely perfect? Actually, what you really fear, and then Jesus is pointing this out, is the dissociation, which is the idea of separation, which then leads to all these apparent, rather awful consequences.
Mm.
And fear, sin, guilt, attack, bodies, you're going to die. All of this now appears to be very fearful, but all of it's a result of your dissociation of the truth.
Mm.
So that's what you really fear. And if you recognize that you accept this again, accept love, perfect oneness back into your mind, then it ceases to be fearful. So it's a simple acceptance. And in the end, this is what he's saying. This course will be accepted entirely or not at all. It's a simple acceptance of, yes, that is the truth. God's will is my will. There is no other will. There is no other awareness. This is all I want. This is all I need, and there's no fear here. This is where I'm only place where I'm going to be safe. So such a simple idea, really. Like, why do we struggle so much with accepting that? Well, because it's the undoing of our entire existence as we believe it to be in the ego. That's why. It undoes the entire world.
Yeah.
Your reality here. So the ego finds that very fearful and threatening. But in truth, it's complete bliss. So we're terrified of eternal bliss. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? Why would you be terrified of that? Instead, we prefer the illusion of this world that is continuously. There's fear and attack and things going wrong. And we prefer that to eternal bliss.
Mm.
Okay,
that's good. That's a nice paragraph, that one.
Yeah. Do you want to do a quick summary of it?
What he's saying is that we cannot dissociate something unless we know it in the beginning. But whatever we have dissociated from is not to be feared, because when we see it in the context of what we are fearful of is the fact that we have dissociated, not from, we're not fearful of what we're dissociated from, but the act of dissociation gives us a feeling of guilt and fear.
Oh.
Because we are repeating that scenario of separation.
Oh. Afraid of our dissociation. In other words, we're actually afraid of the ego or the belief in separation, because that belief is the dissociation, not of what you have dissociated. So it's just to, again, recognize what's really going on in our minds. And then it ceases to be fearful. You really understand it. You go, well, why am I afraid of truth? Okay, number 2.
Yet to give up the dissociation of reality brings more than merely lack of fear. Yet to give up the dissociation of reality brings more than merely lack of fear. In this decision lie joy and peace and the glory of creation, awareness, extension. Offer the Holy Spirit the awareness of oneness only your willingness to remember, for it retains the knowledge of God, love, and of yourself for you, waiting for your life. Give up gladly everything that would stand in the way of your remembering. For love, God is in your memory. His voice will tell you that you are part of him, it, when you are willing to remember him, it, and know your own reality again. Let nothing in this world delay your remembering of him, it, for in this remembering is the knowledge of yourself. So he's saying here that to give up this dissociation, it's more than overcoming fear. It's the decision to rejoin with peace and joy. But we don't need to do anything much as have a willingness to remember truth, and the awareness of oneness will see to it that we get that.
Yeah.
So hence we can give up gladly that which was preoccupying us, because that the thing that we originally dissociated from, which is pure formless awareness, is in our memory. And the voice of pure formless awareness will reassure us that we are part of love and take us back to remind us of our own true reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We decided to forget. The answer to that is to remember the truth that we denied and dissociated, and then peace and happiness will be ours. Let nothing in this world delay your remembering. And this remembering is the knowledge of yourself.
Yeah. So in this one, he's encouraging us to let go of the fear of having dissociated, and remember that we did have connection with Source originally, and we will go back to that if we have a willingness to give up our projections and align ourselves with the awareness of oneness.
Not gladly everything will stand in the way of remembering. So again, the awareness of oneness, the remembrance of oneness is the Holy Spirit. This voice, this remembrance, will tell you that you are part of this love, this total awareness, pure formless awareness. And you're just willing to remember. So he's asking us for a little bit of willingness.
Yeah.
Remember this deeper truth in our minds, and to know our own reality again. And let nothing in this world delay your remembering. So whatever the ego has invented, the belief in separation has invented an entire world to delay your remembering. The whole point of the world is to make you forget, and to justify your forgetting. So now your mind is attached to other things, and believing other things. That's the point of the ego's world. Simply as a distraction device to distract you and to prevent you from remembering. So hence the laying aside of your mental and psychological and emotional attachments to this world is the way to remember. Because all of those things are what make you focus on the ego's denial, the dissociation, and then deny the truth and forget the truth. So hence the idea of letting go, or forgiving the world, leads you to remember the truth. So again, it's binary. There's a split in the mind. To remember the truth, you must forget the illusion. If you pay attention to the illusion, then you must forget the truth.
Mm.
So you must forget one of them. You're saying, we'll make a better decision. You chose to forget the truth. Now choose to remember it and choose to forget the illusion instead. Very, very simple teaching. It's this or that. Make your choice. Okay, well, if you're going to let go of the ego, then all that's left is the truth. And so that becomes the way then. Let go of all the ego's belief in separations, ideas, and the truth will once again be in your mind. And you will have remembered the truth. And that this word remember is interesting because it's remember, isn't it?
Yeah.
We are remembering the sonship.
Yeah.
We've dissociated. We've taken ourselves away from the sonship, and now we are remembering it. So we're bringing the seeming separate parts, the separate members, back into oneness.
Yeah.
Remembering. It's like recognizing. We're rethinking the truth. So these words have quite a lot of depth and meaning to them, actually, if you go into the origin of them. Okay, so happy with number 2?
Yep, it's good. To remember is merely to restore your mind. To remember is merely to restore to your mind what is already there. You do not make what you remember. You merely accept again what is already there, but was rejected. The ability to accept truth in this world is the perceptual counterpart of creating in the kingdom.
Okay, you want to translate that?
Yeah, the ability to accept truth in this world is the perceptual counterpart of creating, of extending in the source, within the realm, the state of pure formless awareness.
Yeah, so it makes sense.
The ability to accept truth in this world is the perceptual counterpart of creating, extending in the awareness. Yeah. Okay.
So in perception, this is the kind of counterpart to this unlimited extension in the state of pure formless awareness.
Yeah.
So we accept truth here. That feels like we're extending. Our minds are expanding. The counterpart of this creating in the kingdom or extending in the state of pure formless awareness in this world. Because we're not in truth yet, but our minds are moving towards the truth.
Yeah.
So as we accept truth in this world, it's the counterpart or the mirror of this true creating in the kingdom or extension of love in the state of pure formless awareness.
Yeah. God will do his part if you will do yours. And his return in exchange for yours is the exchange of knowledge for perception.
Okay, we'll translate that.
Yeah. Pure formless awareness will do its part if you will do yours. And its return in exchange for yours is the exchange of knowledge for perception. So love will do its part if we're willing to do ours, and it will exchange perception for knowledge.
All right.
Nothing is beyond its will awareness for you, but signify your will to remember him, and behold, he will give you everything but for the asking. So he's emphasizing here that the Holy Spirit will exchange our false perceptions and take us back to real knowledge.
Sorry, I'm just.
Yeah.
Phone's just overheating, so it's just closed the apps. I'm not doing very well with the recordings on my phone today. Okay, so let's record it on here, shall we? Yeah. So, sorry, John. Continue.
Yeah. Yes. So, Holy Spirit will do its part, do ours, and take us back to knowledge rather than being lost in perception. Nothing is beyond its will. Just suffices for us to remember him and pay attention and want to go back, to return to him, reconnect with spirit, and it is all there for the asking once we truly ask.
Exchange of knowledge for perception. Okay, do you want to summarize that?
Yeah, saying here that the Holy Spirit will take us back to knowledge, oneness, if we are willing to align with it. Nothing is beyond its capability. It just requires us to commit to it and ask for it. Because whatever we might have rejected and forgotten in the past, it remains there, and we can reconnect with it.
Well, it's perfectly obvious if you think of it as your own will.
Yeah.
This is your own true awareness. Then if we've dissociated from that awareness, the only answer is to accept it back. This is not an alien will. It's our own true will, simply being accepted back into our mind. Makes complete sense that there's nothing to be feared there. In fact, that's where our salvation lies. He will give you everything but for the asking. So that awareness, with the willingness to go there and say, yes, I want that awareness back. This awareness, love, pure formless awareness, which is the potential state in you that remains forever as potential, now becomes actual. You now experience it in your own awareness. And so it will give you everything but for the asking. Because that awareness is an awareness of love and peace and joy. And it's simply a willingness to say, yes, I want this awareness back. And I'm willing to let go of or forget the ego, the belief in separation that denies that awareness. And simply accept this back into my awareness. So, again, very, very simple, saying, look, it's one or the other. Choose to forget the ego and you'll remember the truth, and you'll exchange knowledge for perception. You'll exchange perception for knowledge, rather. And you'll be back in the awareness of who you really are, which is knowledge. And in that state, you can only be happy.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Happy with that? Number
Yeah.
4.
When you attack, you are denying yourself. You are specifically teaching yourself that you are not what you are. Your denial of reality precludes the acceptance of God's gift. Because you have accepted something else in its place. You understand that this is always an attack on truth. Truth is God, pure formless awareness. You will realize why it is always fearful. If you further recognize that you are part of love, pure formless awareness, you will understand why it is that you always attack yourself first. Let's just get that one again, actually. When you attack, you are denying. Oh, okay. When you attack, you are denying yourself. Yes, you are specifically teaching yourself that you are not what you are. Yes. Okay, get that. Your denial of reality precludes the acceptance of God's gift because you have accepted something else in its place. So the denial of reality is because we have accepted something else in the place of spirit oneness. If you understand that this is always an attack on truth, which it is, and truth is God, formless awareness, you will realize why it is always fearful. So I think if we go back to the first paragraph and say it's the attacking, the fact of attacking that takes us back to guilt and fear, then that kind of ties up to it.
Yeah. In paragraph 1, he talks about dissociation, not attack, but it's really the same thing.
Yeah.
You dissociate the truth, it is as though you've attacked it.
Yeah, I think he even says that somewhere, doesn't he? Dissociate is to attack.
Does he say that?
I don't know. Not in this one.
Give up the dissociation. It's more than merely lack of fear. But the implication is dissociation is attack. So when you attack, you're denying yourself, specifically teaching yourself that you're not what you are.
Yeah.
Denial of reality then excludes the gifts of God, love, peace, and joy, gifts of pure formless awareness, because you've accepted something else in its place. So denial, dissociation, whatever you want to call the ego's belief in separation, is the attack on truth.
Yeah.
You understand this is always an attack on truth, and truth is God, truth is love, truth is pure formless awareness. You'll realize why it is always fearful, because you're literally attacking the truth, you're attacking who you really are, and of course that's going to engender fear in your mind. How could it not? You're attacking your foundation, your true awareness, your existence, the source of your very existence. Of course that's going to be fearful.
Yeah.
Further recognize that you're part of God, so you're part of love or pure formless awareness. You will understand why it is that you always attack yourself first. Okay? So, an important point, whenever we attack someone else or something else, in our thoughts, in our words, in our actions, and that happens quite a lot in the egoic world, we're actually attacking our true self. We're attacking this pure formless awareness, this love that is our true nature. And so saying when you recognize this truth, you'll stop doing it. You're always attacking yourself first. It's your own self-concept, your own higher self, your own awareness of love or pure formless awareness is being attacked by your mind. Of course, that's going to lead to a disturbance of your peace. It's going to lead to fear. And so stop doing it. Realize what you're doing. Stop doing it. And rather accept that only love is true, it's still there in your mind, irrespective of what's happening on the level of form. Remember, the level of form is the distraction. It's the denial. It's the result of the denial of truth. This was the result of the denial of truth. So, of course, it's going to seemingly deny your love and your pure formless awareness. It has to. So, hence, letting go of our attachment to the world of form, to what's happening here, overlooking the error, is then going to lead to a correction of our minds and a restoration of our awareness to this love or pure formless awareness. So really just another way of saying what he said over and over and over again in this course. You must make a choice. You must let go of the denial of reality and accept the truth in your mind again. Okay, do you want to give a little summary of number 4?
I think the important thing here is that when we attack, we are denying ourselves first and foremost. When we attack, it always starts with an attack on ourselves first. Because we have denied knowledge, we've denied truth. Therefore, again, we feel guilty and fearful, and we attack as a form of self-defense.
Do you understand why he says, understand this is always an attack on truth, and truth is God or love? You'll realize why it is always fearful.
If you understand that this is always an attack on truth, and truth is God, you'll realize why this is always fearful. What I'm reading by that is that if we understand that an attack on truth is actually effectively an attack on God, then we are bound to be fearful of, we are bound to feel guilty and fearful of the consequences. Fearful of negative consequences.
Yeah. So remember, to go back to our metaphysics, we believe we've destroyed God. Okay? It's an attack on God. We've destroyed God or love or oneness. And so there's this guilt that arises from that thought, and then the false expectation of punishment appearing real. And so fear arises as a result of our belief that we've actually attacked and been successful in that attack. We have actually destroyed love or pure formless awareness. And so now there are consequences to that, and so we fear that we will be punished for this terrible crime. So that's what this is alluding to. That the fear arises from the guilt at what we think we've done.
Yeah.
But really, it's to just see the ridiculousness and say, well, the undoing of this crazy idea is that it never happened. You can't destroy love. You can't destroy your true awareness. It's absolutely impossible. It's eternal. It's created eternal. And it's beyond your ability to destroy. Well, you accept that, you are part of God, in other words, then the whole delusion just disappears. You stop the denial of reality. You stop dissociating and believing in this. And you merely accept this back and say, well, thank God. I can't actually do this. I can't attack myself. I cannot deny my true awareness. I cannot deny love. It's foundational. If I believe I've denied it, I'm merely delusional, because I can't really deny it. It's my true awareness, without which I would have no existence. Just the mere fact that I can even think at all, that I have any kind of awareness at all, means that this foundational awareness, true awareness, love, it must be true. See, so even the ego's denial of it, in all of these delusions, the denial still affirms that there's something, there's an awareness underneath that is eternal. That's the ego reinterpreted. All of this just affirms the fundamental awareness, the ground of being that is in us, that without which none of this could have any kind of reality or existence at all. So that's the reinterpretation he's asking us to do. Say, well, accept only this foundational awareness as the truth, and just let go of all this nonsense, because it's really just an attack on this, which has no meaning and no purpose. And then we will be free. Okay, so happy with that?
Yep.
So moving on to number 5 then.
All attack is self-attack. It cannot be anything else. Arising from your own decision not to be what you are, it is an attack on your identification. Attack is thus the way in which your identification is lost, because when you attack, you must have forgotten what you are. Let's just go back a bit. All attack is self-attack. Okay, I understand that. It cannot be anything else. Arising from your own decision not to be what you are, it is an attack on your own identification. Arising from your own decision not to be what you are, it is an attack on your identification.
Does that make sense?
Well, if we make the decision not to be what we are and we are attacking, then we must be attacking ourselves.
Yeah.
Our own identities, so-called.
Hmm.
Attack is just way.
All attack is self. That's a capital S.
Yeah.
All attack, self-attack. So it's a very simple statement. It's a bit like one of the lessons. You know, all attack is self-attack. You remember that. You go, well, why am I attacking myself here? I'm attacking someone else. I'm actually attacking my self-concept, my higher self. It cannot be anything else. Because it arises from your own decision not to be what you are. It's an attack on your identification, your true identity.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, you want to continue?
Yep. Attack is thus the way in which your identification is lost, because when you attack, you must have forgotten what you are. And if your reality is God's pure formless awarenesses, when you attack, you are not remembering him, it. This is not because he is gone, because it is gone, but because you are actively choosing not to remember him, it.
Actively choosing not to remember. So an attack on anyone or anything is a choice not to remember our source, not to remember who we really are. Remember that. I'm attacking myself here. Okay, well, that's a very stupid thing to do, because if I attack myself, how can I experience peace? Peace is clearly not possible if I'm attacking myself. So he's telling us, you know, all attack is just an active choice not to remember the truth. It's an active choice to forget, as he says. The title of the section is The Decision to Forget. So we decide to attack, we decide to feel guilty, we decide to fear. We are actively choosing not to remember. We're actively choosing to forget the truth. And he's reminding us that that is an active choice. So if you recognize that it's an active choice, you can choose again. So not something you're forced to do. You say, oh, well, you made me do something. No, you chose to respond in that way. No one made you do anything. You're actively choosing not to remember God, love, pure, formless awareness in that instance. Do you want to give a summary of that?
Yeah, so it's saying here that all attack is self-attack. And our true reality is God's. And when we do any form of attack, we are forgetting him, not because he's gone, but because we're choosing not to remember him. So all attack is an attack upon ourselves and God. And it's all unnecessary in the sense that we can choose not to do it.
Yeah, that last sentence, you're actively choosing not to remember God or love or pure formless awareness. Worth remembering that. It's an active choice. Even if someone's doing something to you and you think you're the victim of it, if you choose to respond with fear and attack, then you are actively choosing in that moment not to remember love, your own true awareness. So it's an attack on yourself, apparently justified by something or someone else external, but that justification is false. So the ego's distractions, distractive devices, the external world it's set up to justify these attacks no longer fool you. Okay, well, I get the game. It's just another apparent justification for self-attack that the ego is tempting me to indulge in here. So I'm not going to fall for the trap. I'm not going to take the bait. Instead, I'm going to let go, forgive. So when I do this one thing, forgiveness, when I do this one thing of forgiving or letting go of all the denials of truth in my mind, all of these attacks, all of the ego's entire thought system, then that's the answer. That's if I do that, if I forgive or let go, as he's suggesting we do, then I must accept the truth back into my mind, which is why he's saying forgiveness, this practice of forgiveness or letting go is the only thing you need to learn. It's the one thing, the one skill you need to learn in this life to restore your mind to sanity, to peace, to happiness. All God's gifts are given you. One thing that you've got to learn to do.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's the second time we're doing this thoroughly. What I'm really getting is the absolute simplicity of this. It keeps coming back to the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's saying the same thing over and over again in variations, shades of it, different formulations, different ways of stating the same simple thing over and over and over again. And it's kind of like a mind washing. It's like, okay, eventually we go, yes, I'm seeing it's all the same thing. It's one simple truth. And it's very, very simple. It's one thing, one simple truth. And there's one thing I have to do to accept that truth back into my mind. Okay, this isn't complicated. It's actually very simple. And it's actually quite easy to do once I realize that this is the only thing I have to learn.
Yeah.
The ego's primary defense against this is, of course, confusion. It's saying, no, there's multiple things. There's multiple ideas. There's many alternatives. And, all of them will work. So there's another world. There's many other worlds, many other options. Because what it's terrified of is of us coming to the simple understanding truth. Oh, and there's Iona. Just in time for the med. Hi, Iona.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Jono.
You back on your sofa?
Back on the sacred sofa. Exactly.
Happy to be back?
Yeah, I am. I'm really very tired in the body. Yeah.
Was it quite a taxing trip?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Quite a different change of pace and scene from Findhorn.
Could not be more profoundly different. Yeah. Yeah.
But there's learning that comes from that, because there's a contrast of realities and thought systems, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think I was more maybe shocked, and I felt very sad today, actually. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, about some of my experiences, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, it's actually not for me to interfere or with anybody else's experience in life, if that's
What they choose.
what they choose.
Mm.
Yeah. And who am I to judge and give an opinion on? I can only do what we want to do, can't we?
Well, you can judge truth from illusion. You know, that's all we have to do.
Judge.
But there's no condemnation in the sense of, oh, well, you know, you're so asleep, you're so unenlightened. Let me help you out of your delusion. Because first of all, it's probably not going to work, because they're going to go, well, no, actually, I'm fine. If there's no openness or willingness.
No.
And secondly, of course, it's subtle ego, because it makes you superior to them.
I was watching that spiritual egoic thing, and saying that's not okay. That is not okay, just because I've chosen this. And I could feel, was it an egoic thing, or was it a compassionate thing? I wish you didn't have to suffer. You feel you didn't have to suffer so much. Was part of it, and then I had to let that go, because it wasn't, they're not asking for my spiritual compassion, but I showed up on a level with flowers and cheer and visits and hand holding and you know, yeah. So
yeah, you did what you could do. You were the presence of love and light, hopefully.
yes.
A little ray shining into that world, and maybe, you know, it's up to everyone. That maybe that makes an impact, and they say, yes, okay, I'd like more of that.
Yeah, so.
Or not.
Yeah, or not.
Or not.
Yeah.
It's not up to you to decide when, you know, when they decide that they want to, you know, accept the truth back into their minds. As he says, the ego is capable of enormous delay, enormous procrastination.
Yes.
And everyone has a choice as to when they want to do this.
Yes.
You know, the curriculum is set, as he says in the introduction.
Yes.
But, your only choice is when you want to take it, when you want to take this course.
Yeah.
And so, you know, so many people are just denying it. They're delaying it, denying it, ducking, diving, doing whatever to avoid going, okay, well, maybe it's time that I finally learned the truth. Okay. You cannot make that decision for anyone. It's up to them. Yeah. No, so often they have to suffer a bit more until the suffering gets so acute. They're like, oh, okay, it's enough already. I can't stand it anymore. Oh, maybe I should call Iona. She seemed to have some idea of what she was doing.
I don't know.
Well, I think people, you know, you carry a presence and an energy, don't you?
Yes. There was one guy who said, because I was meeting people that I haven't seen for 2.5 years, and 2 people I haven't seen for 9 years. 3 people I never expected to see again. these two central figures I was staying with, whom I've known one for 40 years and one for 30 years.
Wow.
So all of a sudden, I haven't seen all people for a long time. Suddenly, it's incredibly concentrated into 3 days. So
Yeah.
I feel very exhausted on one level, as well as it being all in London, which is just extraordinary creation.
Did you kind of get a lot of that mind energy of like everyone's busy in the matrix kind of thing, or not really?
A huge amount of it, and often I was able to watch it and be calm and keep the lesson in my head and think. And in fact, when I was sitting in the middle of Brixton Market, I don't know if you've ever been to Brixton, but that's where I stay when I go. And I had some food, and then I meditated, and I was just had my earphone, and then I went away into another shop, and the guy said, "I saw you there. I saw you were staring." And I said, "Yeah, I was meditating. I wasn't there." He said, "Oh, cool." And I thought, well, that's a new me, not the one who's wanting to be rushing around, just the one who's sitting meditating in the middle of it all. I like that. I was happy to be that person. There's a big roaring noise going on behind me. I don't know if you can hear it.
Not really, no.
Okay, good.
Okay, well, yeah, welcome. We're just at the tail end of the text. So we started an hour earlier.
You
Today.
did?
I got a power cut in just under an hour, 55 minutes. So I didn't want to have the session interrupted by a power cut. It wreaks havoc with internet connections and stuff. So we'll just summarize it. If you want to read number 6, and then we'll summarize the whole thing for you, and then we'll go into a med. We haven't done the meditation.
Okay, you did. I didn't. Right, I didn't hear anything for about 30 seconds there. If you realize the complete havoc this makes of your peace of mind, you could not make such an insane decision. You make it only because you still believe it can get you something you want. It follows then that you want something other than peace of mind, but you have not considered what it must be. Yet the logical outcome of your decision is perfectly clear. If you will only look at it, by deciding against your reality, you have made yourself vigilant against God, pure formless awareness, and its domain, or its
state.
And it is this vigilance that makes you afraid to remember love. So this is the lesson, yeah? Or the text. I'm sorry, this is out of context.
This is the text.
Chapter 10.
Yeah, this is the text.
This is the text.
And we're really talking about the decision to forget. So the summary of it is we've decided to forget the truth. We've dissociated the truth. That dissociation is an attack on truth. Therefore, all of this is really an attack on ourself. All attack is self-attack, which is a great line to remember. It cannot be anything else. And the answer is simple. It's to let go of this attack. You're actively choosing not to remember God or love or pure formless awareness whenever you attack anyone or anything. It's an active choice. So just let go of that choice. Realize you don't have to make that choice anymore. You can let it go, and in the process of letting go of the illusions that deny the truth, you are remembering the truth. Very, very simple and teaching, really, because the truth is simple. He's just saying again in another way what he's been saying all along. Right? Two thought systems. One is a denial of truth, so it's an active attack on truth. You simply need to let go of that attack, and you'll remember yourself.
Okay.
So if you have denied the truth and you've forgotten the truth, it's a decision to forget, then you must decide to forget the forgetting of the truth, and then you will remember the truth. It's actually really, really, because it's just these two things that oppose each other.
It's wonderful how sometimes when I take part in this mind training, that actually a phrase or a sentence has come to me just before that, and the all attack is self-attack had come to me last night, and I felt really sad actually for myself, because I felt that I had been working really hard on the lesson and really trying not to really looking at condemnation or judgment, but actually what the ego was doing was having a right old go at me, and I was full of self-criticism this morning about what I was apparently not able to do in my life, and how things feel very heavy going at the moment. And I thought, that's just so fucking unfair, actually, that I'm really that this is turned in, but it is. It's self-attack.
Yeah. All attack is self-attack. So whether you actually think you're attacking someone else, that's like the first level of the ego's defense, isn't it? Oh, it's someone else who's the problem, and they're doing something that I don't like, so I hold a grievance, so I attack them in my mind. That's kind of first level of ego defense, projection of the attack outwards. But then if you start unwinding that, the next level is, I'm now gonna redouble the attack on you. So now you get very self-critical.
Yeah.
Start blaming yourself. And it's just another version of the same program.
Okay.
To attack yourself. Just like more direct. As he says, in the ego, if you really start getting serious about this, the ego redoubles its efforts and it gets vicious. So it starts to really attack you. Go like, okay, right. So you think you're going to let go of me. Right. In we go, knives out. And now you're going to have this huge, self-attack. Oh, I'm so unworthy. I'm not getting it right. Whatever the thoughts are. And you're really just attacking your, higher self, as he says, capital self attack. You're attacking your true self, the Christ self, that you are one, you are perfect, you are whole, you are complete, you are this pure formless awareness. There's really nothing else. And your human self and all of your apparent frailties and failings and foibles and whatever, it mean nothing. They mean absolutely nothing. That self is still perfect, shining, pure, radiant, and of course the ego can't accept that.
No,
so it has to attack you.
So in a way, redoubling the efforts and really getting the gloves on is a good sign that the ego is in retreat or is very scared.
Desperate. Yeah, it's desperate. Yeah, so fighting for its existence.
Yeah,
fighting for its life.
Right. Okay. Because it was really strong this morning. Yeah.
Well, you think, like let's say, interesting. So you went away. You're obviously very vigilant. You're on your guard. You were like, okay, so I'm going to stay here. I'm going to do the mind training. I'm going to keep the lessons in mind. I'm not going to fall into, these egoic traps while I'm away. Now you come home. It's like, oh, okay. Maybe guard's down a little bit more. Oh, okay. So now we're going to get in there, and we're gonna redouble our efforts to attack Iona. And maybe the thoughts going through your mind was, well, now that I'm away, I'm back home in Findhorn, I'm not really living up to these ego ideals that you saw. I don't know what was going on in your mind, but that would be a kind of a sneaky move on the ego's part. Okay, so your guard's a little bit down now. Oh, because you're not enough by the standard that you just seen in in London, busy city.
It was the not enough.
I'm not enough again. So there's the I'm not good enough program, which is the self-attack coming in again.
Yeah.
on the back end of an experience of an alternative way of living.
Yeah.
And saying, oh, okay, well, you don't measure up to that. But do you want to measure up to that? Is that something, is that a standard that you want to live your life by? You got to really question and say, really? Actually, is anyone really happy there? Is this a world I want to be part of? Is this a self I want to identify with? Well, no, you've made a choice to live in Findorn for a reason.
Yeah.
You're not living in London because it's craziness, it's madness.
It is
And
madness.
you prefer the peace and the tranquility that come when you're out of that.
Yeah.
In a little village in the north coast of Scotland with other like-minded people. This is a higher choice from your. So of course the ego's got to attack that, isn't it? It's giving you alternatives. Like, oh, we'll go there. Move to London or do something crazy so that you can get some kind of self-worth from playing the game of the ego, and desperately trying to find some kind of self-worth in the madness. Which of course will never work. It's not going to work. You're not going to find it there. How are you going to find it in madness and in craziness, in the projection of madness? You're not. But it's sneaky because it's trying to convince you that you will.
Yeah. Yeah, there was certainly all that again. And because I lived in London for, a reasonable length of time, the ego was saying, yeah, but you didn't stick in, you didn't make your money, you didn't.
Yeah. You didn't succeed. We talked about success.
You did not succeed. You did not build yourself a wonderful nest egg so you could actually say, yeah, I've done all my bit. Now I can live in Findorn. And it's just like the ego attacking me saying, Christ, you think you can enjoy yourself and have a beautiful life in Findorn without having done all that stuff? Are you mad? Wow.
Yeah. And that's just classic. Oh, well, you have to do all of this. If you remember in Risen, do you remember that conversation that Clavius had with Pontius Pilate in the bathtub?
Okay, I can visually, I can remember.
Yeah, so they're having a chat, and so Pontius Pilate saying, well, your ambition is noted, Tribune. So what do you want? He says, what do you want? And so Clavius lays out the ego's plan for his life. Says, well, I go to Rome, power, wealth, and then Pontius Pilate, and then, well, that will allow me eventually to have a house in the country and an end to travail, peace. That's where he gets to eventually. Yes. And then Pontius Pilate remarks, he says, all of that for peace. Surely there must be another way.
Right.
Which really is the Holy Spirit coming in via him, saying, actually, there is another way, and the other way is about to be shown to you, big time. You don't have to do all of that. Oh, well, I have to do this, and he has to go and be a tribune, and he has to basically be the skivvy of this prefect in this godforsaken place of Judea, which was not a good post to have, and he has to go and do all the dirty business of the prefect, because that's all he is, really. He's just skivvy. A prefect summons you. Okay, here we go again. Oh, what do I have to do now? Okay, well, go put down the rebellion. Now go sort out the Messiah who needs to be crucified. Get that done. He's not happy, is he?
No, I mean, he actually had a really dirty job. He had to activate the bodies and poke them around and produce.
Terrible job. Yeah, and he's a tribune. It gives him a ring. Ego gives him a ring and says, oh, no, you have some status. You're a tribune. You're important. And this is your career path. You're gonna do this for however many years you have to do it. And then you're going to become a prefect. And then you'll go back to Rome and you'll become a senator. And eventually, in 20 years' time, you'll have enough wealth and power to get a house in the country and retire and have an end to all of this travail. This is kind of what the ego set up for it. And that's kind of what it does in this world. It's like, yes, you can have peace, but not right now. No. You have to do all of this and this and this, and go achieve all of these egoic goals. And that's success. And then finally, maybe, one day you can retire, you can have a house in the country, and you can have peace. But that's well distant in the future. And so that's the ego's plan for your salvation. And of course, because there's obviously some sort of resident belief in it in your mind, it then comes back in a big way.
Yeah.
Having just been exposed to it.
Yeah.
And goes, oh, temptation, you haven't done it. It's like, yeah, but that way was never going to work. So you simply abandoned it, recognizing it's not going to work, went to Findorn and said, look, actually what I value is peace of mind and quiet and a much more kind of spiritual life. And that's a direct approach to peace. You don't need to do all of that stuff to have peace. You can have it right now on your sofa in Findorn. So just recognize what the ego's up to.
Okay, that's really useful.
And refuse to play its game because it's just ridiculous. It's not a true thought system, and that thought system isn't going to work. Do most people in London living that life experience peace of mind on a regular basis? Really? Like, ask yourself that question. Just from your observation of the 3-4 days you were there, is that the case? Do they experience consistent peace of mind?
No, of course not. I think the happiest people I did see were a couple of guys living down the street where Sarah and Rachel live, and happily digging up their garden and planting and building a workshop at the end. But there was like a wonderful Tesla car parked outside.
Okay.
And for me it was right, Iona, you're never going to have that. You're never going to have that kind of material wealth and kind of the safety that my ego associates with that stuff. Wow, I've always got something that says where my ego is very sharp and it's got stiletto heels. Yeah, but you know, this is great for now. But what about when you're 75 and 80 and you haven't got that behind you?
You haven't got something to fall back on.
You haven't got something. You can always sell the Tesla. Great. Well, I haven't got a bloody Tesla.
Yeah, but that's just fear, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just fear.
And projecting to the future because you actually have no idea. How do you know that abundance won't come? How do you know that the Spirit won't lead you to do things that create material abundance? It's possible. It's not something you desire for itself. You don't go, well, I want material abundance, so I'm doing the spiritual path because I want to. That's not what you're doing. But you're doing it from the inside out. It's like true abundance is the identification with your true self. Stop attacking your true self. Accept only that as the truth of you. And who knows what can happen? There are no limits to this. The Spirit is not limited in any way, shape, or form. And so you trust that you will be provided for. If you are truly doing God's will, like really, and you really say, okay, I'm just going to do the will of God, which is today's lesson. Just listen to this voice of love in my mind and listen to that and that only. I will trust that everything's going to be provided for. That's the lesson. And it will be. You'll see. It has to be. If you do that well, whatever you need is given. My particular journey for this Art of Letting Go course has been very interesting because it's been trust. I have to go, okay, this isn't making any money now. I'm not sure if it ever will, but I'm trusting that it's got to, needs to be done. So I got to trust that I'll be provided for and it's going to work. And so far so good. It has. We're still going, and I'm like, okay, well, just keep trusting. It's gonna unfold, and things are gonna happen to allow it to continue because this is the will of God, and so the Spirit's also
going. So I will lean back into trust all over again, and right now it seems to be a kind of daily reminder to lean in and not get scared. Yeah.
Trust that if you follow this path, because the Spirit is not inactive. It's not going to say, okay, well, just sit on your sofa and meditate 24/7 and do nothing, because that's the ego will go, well, I get things done for you. I make stuff happen. And so listen to me, because, you know, in the world, you need me, right? This is the ego's, you need me to take care of you, because what happens when what happens when you're 75, Iona, and you've got no money? And then you'll be sorry because you didn't listen to me.
Yeah, exactly.
The voice, isn't it? You should have listened to me 15 years ago. I told you should have planned for your retirement. Da 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 da. You know, oh, yada 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 yada, on and on and on. Doesn't it go?
Yes, doesn't it go?
And you just have to go, look, this just is delusional. You are delusional. This is not true. It's based on fear. And actually, these thoughts are an attack on myself.
Yeah.
None of them are true. None of them are real. So, no, you know what? In the dustbin, away with you. Let it go. Use the lesson today, or any of the lessons will do. You know, the only will is God's will.
Okay.
There is no will but God's. There is no will but love's. So these delusional ideas are not true. They have no reality for me. Sorry.
Okay.
And you see the beauty of these lessons is they're so like absolute. There's no will but God. Okay, well these thoughts, these ideas that the ego is tempting, well, nothing. Nothing, meaningless, nada, nixed, you know, gone, just, and you just, like, the lesson just helps you to drop them. So this is just, no, I'm not going to entertain this anymore. Only this love, only this pure formless awareness is what I want. And, you know, I choose only that right now. And I trust that if I do that, I'm bringing in the power of God, of this enormous loving presence, that is the ultimate will of myself and of the universe, and I have to trust that. If I don't trust that, what can I trust?
Mm-hmm.
There's nowhere else to go.
No.
No alternative, of course, the ego. Okay, well, let me just remind you. Have a look at this. You're going to trust this? Guilt, sin, fear, attack, accusation, blame, victimhood, a life of limitation, lack, loneliness, suffering before you die. You're going to trust that thought system to deliver any kind of happiness to you, to do anything except do what it does. I mean, look at it. It's all laid out for you here. Do you want to trust that?
I
Or do you
was
want to trust, or do you want to trust, you know, the one true self, the one truth that's always been, that's eternal?
yeah, I was challenged by what I saw in people I've known for a very, very, very long time.
Hmm.
And I felt sad, and I can see I'm having a bit of a detox from that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You saw the alternative very clearly, and the ego's tempting you to dive and go, oh, but there's still something here for you, Iona.
Yep.
There's something there.
Yeah.
But just remember, like, you know, go back to this time. Like, okay, so this is what it is. Don't be fooled by the illusion. This is what it is. This is what the ego is.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want that?
No.
Or not?
No, I don't want it.
End of then. You know, then you just got to keep reminding yourself when the ego tempts you. No, I don't want this. I don't want any part of it. And the decision must be a total one. I can't accept a part of this and not accept all of it. So I'm either fully in this thought system, which is what you saw demonstrated in London, or I'm out of it and I've chosen another way and I'm going in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't kind of compromise on it, can you? You can't fudge it. Ego's saying, you know, oh, you can have a bit of this. It's like, no, because it's taking you in the opposite direction from where the Spirit's taking you. You can't follow, you know, at a crossroads, you can't follow two guys.
No.
They're going to take you in opposite directions. You must choose one. So yeah, really good lesson, really, because it's like, okay, make the choice again, Iona.
Okay.
Choose again, redouble your, you know, your make your decision. You tempted, but choose again. Choose again. Choose this way only, in spite of these temptations, and just let them go, because they're nothing. So it sounds like very good mind training exercise you went through over the last few days. All good.
Yeah, it was all good.
Yeah. Okay. So let's ask. John's been a bit silent. John, do you want to give us a little summary of the whole thing? We'll help Iona, and then we'll go into the
Yeah,
meditation.
Please.
yeah. So I think what he's saying here is the we choose to forget out of fear for what we think we have done, and that fear is based on guilt, not so much of what we have forgotten, but the fact that we have denied the knowledge in the first place. We have denied this of God, the awareness of oneness. And the Holy Spirit is always ready to help us get back to what we thought we had forgotten, and will take us back when we are resolved to go back.
So we must deny this decision to forget and choose to remember again.
Mm-hmm.
Forget the decision to forget the truth, and then we remember the truth. And the key point for me is this: all attack is self-attack. I think that's a major. So by continuing to deny the truth, dissociate the truth, we're actually attacking ourselves. It cannot be anything else. It arises from your own decision not to be what you are. So it's an attack on your identification with who you are.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's really going. Maybe Iona, read number 5 again. I think it'd be worth reading in your context.
All attack is self-attack. It cannot be anything else. Arising from your own decision not to be what you are, it is an attack on your identification. Attack is thus the way in which your identification is lost, because when you attack, you must have forgotten what you are. And if your reality is love's, when you attack, you are not remembering it. This is not because love has gone, but because you are actively choosing not to remember it.
So what stands out for you there?
I felt it very much. I do feel it very much. The sort of sadness and the viciousness of me attacking my identification, my sort of gathering security in this mind training work, and then the attack on the very basis of it. I feel sad about that. That I could have lost my identification. I don't, because I must have forgotten what I am. I think I believe I was very vigilant for attack on from the people that I used to identify so closely with. But actually that didn't happen, but I was vigilant for it. Yeah.
And then interesting, you come back because okay, so now that apparent threat is over, and then your guard drops, and then in it comes with self-attack.
Yes.
Self-criticism. Okay, so we didn't manage to get you on the attacking from other people. You were kind of wise to that one, but we'll get you on self-attack. You're now gonna beat yourself up for not meeting the crazy ego ideal of that it's just shown you.
Yeah.
You gotta laugh. I mean, it's actually it's just when you understand the ego, it's crazy and it's laughable that it's trying all of this stuff, which means, as you say, it's on the run. It's like, oh, okay, so mind training is afoot. My identity's being threatened. We got to try everything we possibly can to get Iona back into the camp, and continue with the forgetting of who she really is.
Mhm.
And so self-attack will do nicely, thank you. So then, let's have a bout of that, and try and convince her that she actually is unworthy. Forget love. You're not love. You're not pure formless awareness. You're this kind of unworthy human self who hasn't quite cut it and hasn't quite made it and hasn't lived up to expectations. It's failed. Blah de blah de blah de blah, yada yada. And on it goes. And
Yeah.
you got to learn just to go, okay, what a load of nonsense. Just
Yeah.
honestly.
It's like, that ego voice that says, just another wannabe,
Yeah.
or wannabe artist or wannabe painter. But I never made it into the Royal Academy or even the Royal Academy summer show. She never really, oh God, on and on. Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't meet the ideal of success.
No.
Which we actually talked about in the beginning. Then we worth you watching this one. So this was a session we did last year. So if you click on that link,
Okay.
we talked about these ideas of what is true success, and how does the Holy Spirit reinterpret this idea of success in your mind to help you to live truly, to live authentically in oneness with Spirit, God, love, and not buy into the ego's idea of success, because the ego is always the external, or your success is judged by the external symbols of it. So the things like, just the Royal Academy, of course, it's going to go for that, and money, power, status. This is the kind of thing that it holds out for you. But actually, it's a delusion. That path is never going to lead you to peace. It's just more denial of yourself, grandiosity. Remember the recent. It's grandiosity in a counter to your littleness. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go do that because that's going to make you feel better about yourself. But actually, it's not really, because you still, whether it's grandiosity or littleness, you're still denying your true self. It's still an attack on the true self, on love, when you buy into that thought system, and you give your precious mind energy, your life energy, your attention to that.
Yeah.
You're continuously attacking yourself. Well, how on earth do you expect to be happy if you keep doing that? You can't. It's not going to happen. It might be worth listening to Marisa Peer again.
Yeah.
I'll send you that link. I posted it a few weeks ago. I'll send it to you, because she's going, well, look, I work with these people who followed the ego's plan for salvation, for success in the world, and they come to me when they're really a mess. They're just really unhappy, and no one else can help them. And I help them because I teach them that they are enough, irrespective of what they do and what they have. And she says it works. It works as a charm because it's based on truth. And so, an extreme example is always useful. Go to so people who've actually done that and they played that thought system to its extreme and they've achieved it. They've got the money and the power and the success. Are they really happy? And she's going, no, they're really not, because they still believe they're not enough. And all of this was just a cover for their despair. It's the grandiosity to try and cover over their sense of not being good enough. And of course, then they get there and there's nowhere to go in the ego thought system because they've done it. And then they fall into despair and dysfunction and addiction and so on. And the answer is to go to the truth of who they are. I am enough. Okay, well, you don't have to go there and repeat their mistakes. You can just learn from it and accept, I'm enough right now, sitting on my sofa. It's okay. I'm enough as I am. I'm enough in Findhorn. I'm enough as an artist. I'm enough as I am. And in truth, that's my true success. Just accepting that I'm enough is the success that everyone's actually looking for outside of them. And it's never going to come from anything other than their own acceptance of it. So yeah, listen to that and Maurice's talk, and it might be worth watching that scene in Risen
Yeah,
again, the first
yeah,
half an hour ago, because it's really it's an expose of that whole thought system, as it existed then, but it's still the same. There's nothing really changed. Wealth, power, fame, in Clavius's world, that existed in, okay, well, you go to Rome and you become a senator and you play the game. And now the ego holds up a different version of that for you. Oh, okay, well, become a successful artist, exhibit at the Royal Gallery or whatever it is, and get acknowledged by the critics as some kind of success, and sell your art for tens of thousands of pounds, and then that's success. And it holds that up for you as the ideal.
yeah.
Is it really? Is that really? I mean, I think you said to me, well, a lot of art, that's commercial art, you find soulless. It's like there's no heart to it. There's no soul. It's being done as a commercial. Yeah, it's a pretty picture. I think it was actually, no, it wasn't you. It was Elaine. Elaine was saying, a lot of the stuff just does nothing for us. It's good art, technically really good, but where's the soul? Where's the feeling behind it?
Yeah.
And that's what's really important.
Yeah, it is.
So that's being successful and being true to yourself. Whether the art sells for £100 or £10,000 really doesn't matter.
Important. That's important.
It's not the quantum of that, because the ego is going to tell you that's how you should judge this.
Yes.
Judge it by the material. Judge it by how much money you're making, or what the amounts of acknowledgement you get, or the critics' reviews, the external. But no, judge it by the feeling that you had when you did it.
Yeah.
Like, did I really feel tapped in? Did I feel connected to source when I painted this painting? Yes. So then it was a success.
Yeah.
And if no one likes it, it doesn't matter, because you had the feeling of love and connection when you did it, and that's really all that matters. But trust, you see, this is a trust that if you do that, if you're really tapped in and connected, then the Holy Spirit's going to provide for you. Someone will enjoy that art because of the feeling that you put into it. And you'll be provided for. It may not sell for tens of thousands of pounds, but it's enough. You always have enough because you are enough. And this is the true abundance, and this is the true success.
Thank you.
To just say, I am enough, and therefore I'm provided for. I'll always have enough, and I trust that, and there's no fear. Well, then you're truly successful, because how many people do you know who are in that mindset, who can really live that way, trusting moment by moment the Spirit to provide for everything? Very few.
I love that phrase, tapped in.
Maybe
there'll be a show one day called Tapped In.
Maybe there will be. Who knows? Maybe it'll come through you. So it's another way. It's inside out success. So it's just a totally another way of doing it.
I like that.
You're not reliant on the external to give you the validation that you think you're missing. You're like, no, I am enough. From the enoughness, I now think and speak and act, and I'm guided. And that enoughness is the abundance that then can manifest in the external world as whatever forms of abundance. But don't mistake the forms for the content, you see. It's not about the form. It's about the content of it.
Yeah.
Substance over form. Substance is I am enough. The abundance is within me. Now I extend that or express that outwards. See, so it's inside out rather than outside in.
Yeah.
The outside in is I feel lacking. Now I need some external symbol to convince me that I'm okay, that I am actually enough. That's outside in, backwards. It's so simple, really, but this is the delusion that most people suffer from. Oh, it's all outside in. I have to do it from the outside in, and then they chase all the ego's goals, and are never really satisfied. Because once you've got something, and the ego says, okay, now you've got this, then it's going to hold up something else. Oh, well, you're still not satisfied, so go chase something else, and another thing, and another thing, and it never ends. Perpetual desire. You're on the hedonic treadmill, and you're never actually accepting who you really are. So yeah, some stuff you can listen to. There's no session tonight, So why don't you listen to this one instead? It's a good one, and I'll send you Marisa Peer's. It's only about a 40-minute talk that she did.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay. So shall we do a meditation then?
Great.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do a med. I think my phone has probably cooled down now. It's overheated.
Here today.
The sun. Yeah, we've still got. I don't understand why that's happening. Anyway, we'll have to work that out. Do you know anything about Telegram, Iona? It's asking me to record video now. I can't record an audio for some reason, and I have no idea why that happened. Anyway, I'll have to figure that one out afterwards. Okay, so let's do the meditation then, shall we?
Great.
So just making yourself comfortable, sitting your feet shoulder width apart, cup your hands in your lap, keep your back straight, close your eyes, and start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. Breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clenching the sphincter muscle to lock the energy in. Draw the energy up the spine into your heart center. Put one hand on your heart, connecting with your heart space. Just bringing your mind into the present moment, fully, completely. And drawing it up into your upper back and then into the crown of your head. Just pausing at the top of the inhale, smile. So scan your mind, noticing any thoughts and emotions going on there, particularly anything that feels at all limiting, contracted, constricting, any kind of self-attack, any attack on others. Be aware of that. And just breathe into that. So another breath in to create some space, some awareness, some light around us. Just bringing in the awareness of truth. Remind yourself of today's idea. There is no will but God's. If you prefer, there is no awareness but love's. And so I cannot be in conflict. I recognize that all conflict is internal in its nature. All attack is self-attack, is another way of saying that. So whatever the ego is showing me on the external world, it's my belief in it that's the problem. My belief in another will, my belief in another awareness other than love's is the problem. But if there is no will but love's, then my conflicts must be over. I cannot be in conflict. And so exhale on the truth of that. So exhaling and just letting go of all these false beliefs in another will but love's, dropping them into the nothingness they really are, blowing them all away with the breeze of your breath. Imagine you blowing them away like dark clouds. They have no power to obscure the blue sky, which is your true awareness, your pure formless awareness, or the light of your source of your awareness that shines through that, like the sunlight shining through a brilliant blue sky on a clear day. So let that image just clean your mind, washing your mind away washing away all these clouds of conflict, blowing them away with the breeze of your breath, sinking inwards to the peace of your pure formless awareness. Beyond all these conflict thoughts lies the peace of God, the peace of love that passes all understanding. Say to yourself, I am at peace. Nothing can disturb me, because my will is God's, or my awareness is love's awareness, not sometime in the past or the future, right now, in the present moment. My will is love's. My awareness is love's awareness. So my will and God's are one. My awareness and love's awareness are one. My awareness is love's awareness. Say this to yourself. And this is not something I have to wait for. I don't have to do various things that the ego sets up for me to do to have this awareness. I can have it right now, sitting where I am. Just by becoming aware of this presence in me, the I am presence. I am that I am. Say that to yourself. I am that I am. So my will is God's. My will, my awareness, my true awareness is love's awareness. There is no other awareness. And love wills, God wills, only peace for his Son. Love wills only peace for its extension. Not sometime in the past or the future, right now. So my only job is to accept that peace, the peace of love, the peace of God that passes all understanding, right now, in this present moment. There is nowhere else to go. There is nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. There is no possible better use of your time than accepting this peace. Peace that passes all egoic understanding. Peace that comes when you unite your will with God's. And you remind yourself that your awareness is love's awareness. If any conflict thoughts cross your mind, tell yourself immediately, breathe into them. Breathe this loving presence in to every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind. Every fiber of your being is infused with the will of God, the awareness of love. And now tell yourself, there is no will but God's. There is no will but love's. And so these conflict thoughts are meaningless. And then you exhale, and you blow them all away, like clouds, just blown away by the holy breath. Holy Spirit in Christian tradition is also called the holy breath. So use the breath to bring this awareness into your mind, blowing away the clouds of the ego, the idea that there's another will, that you can be conflicted, and accepting the peace of God passes all understanding. It lies in your acceptance of this one simple truth. There is no will but God's. There is no other awareness but love's. If there's any conflict area that seems difficult to resolve, single it out for special consideration. So think about it briefly. but very specifically. Identify the particular person or people and situation or situations involved. Bring it to mind, breathe into it, and tell yourself, there is no will but God's. There is no will but love's. I share it with him or it. So my conflicts about whatever it is, whoever it is, cannot be real. Say it again. There is no will but love's. I share this will with love, and so my conflicts about whoever or whatever cannot be real. And then exhale, let them go to the nothingness they really are. They're just cloud patterns. So release them. And after you've cleared your mind in this way, try to experience the peace to which your reality entitles you. Sink into it. Feel it closing around you. Beyond the clouds is this pure formless awareness, the blue sky. You have a sense of just surrendering into that, abandoning yourself to it, immersing yourself in it. There may be some temptation to mistake these attempts for withdrawal, but the difference is easily detected. If you are succeeding, you will feel a deep sense of joy and an increased alertness. You feel alive. Joy is vibrantly alive peace, rather than a feeling of drowsiness and enervation. So sink into that feeling. If you're feeling drowsy, you want to withdraw, just breathe in. Imagine you breathing in this life energy, the joy. Joy is an alive sensation. You feel the body tingling. You feel vibrantly alive. And there's this underlying peace in your mind. So by this experience, you'll recognize that you have reached it. That you've reached peace. You feel yourself slipping into withdrawal. Quickly repeat the idea for today again. There is no will but God's. There is no will but love's to yourself. So repeat that as often as you feel is necessary to stay in this state of peace, the joy that characterizes it. So just for a couple of minutes of deep silence, sink inwards to the peace. Peace of love that passes all understanding. So there is no will but God's, there is no awareness but love's. Accept that fully for the next couple of minutes of deep silence. If any conflict thoughts arise to tempt you back into their domain, remind yourself there is no will but God's, there is no awareness but love's. I share it with love. This will is the only will, so my conflicts about whoever or whatever it is cannot be real. Let them go with your breath and sink inwards to the peace that awaits you beyond the conflicts that the ego sponsors. for another minute or so of deep silence. And so gently bringing yourself back into the body, to an awareness of the body, senses, and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing the stomach rise and the chest rise and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pausing at the top of the inhale, scan your mind again. Notice any conflicts, thoughts still lurking there. And remind yourself, there is no will but God's. There is no awareness but love's awareness. I share this will with God. I share this will with love. And so my conflicts about whoever or whatever it is cannot be real. Exhale, blow them away. The breeze of your breath into the nothingness that they really are. Notice how the chest and the stomach suck back in. The energy raised up into the crown subsides back down to your lower stomach and your groin. The count of 2, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, feet touching the ground. Notice what you're feeling and touching with your hands. Notice a subtle smell in your nose, perhaps. So you breathe in, a taste in your mouth, and notice what you're hearing, but without any judgment, just staying in this will of love. It has no judgment, it's just aware, and stay rooted in this for the rest of the afternoon and evening. To help you do that, practice today's lesson frequently. Jesus recommends twice an hour, using either of the shorter recordings I sent you this morning or the instructions I sent you in the WhatsApp, in the Telegram message. So I wish you good practicing and a very peaceful day ahead. So 3, open your eyes. Just take 30 seconds to reorient yourself. So notice as you look around the room, you observe the various objects and people, that this peace, this true awareness of love and the peace that it brings you are still very much there. And they haven't departed just because you come back into sense perception. They are with you always. In other words, God or love goes with you wherever you go. And so stay rooted in this peace, in this loving awareness. Remain vigilant for any conflict ideas and use the idea to help you let them go. That should keep you in the peace that passes all understanding, which is what I wish for you. So that brings us to the end of the meditation and the session. So thanks for joining, John. Iona, thanks for catching the tail end of it.
Yeah. Thanks, Jono. Nice to see you, Iona. Kenneth.
Yeah, nice to see you again, Kenneth. Glad you can join us again. You didn't manage on your own.
One thing I really enjoyed about today, John, was that we've done everything in 2.5 hours.
Yeah, which was quite good. But remember, it was a short lesson.
Yeah, it was a short lesson.
We didn't have 10 paragraphs to get through, so yeah. But I'll try and keep it as you know. That's a balance between doing it thoroughly and and speed, isn't it? So
yeah,
sort of. Okay, so I will see you tomorrow. We have a session tomorrow. I'm gonna actually ask, because we got a power cut scheduled for tomorrow. Can we do it in the evening? Can we do the whole session in the evening? Is that okay?
I think so. From our
Yeah.
I think so.
Does that work for you, Anna?
It does actually.
Yeah. So we've got a
Okay.
power cut scheduled for 2 to 4:30, I think.
Uh-huh.
Shall we start 6:30 UK time?
That's okay for me. That would be good.
Okay. I think we're good for that.
Yep.
I think John's frozen,
He's frozen. Yeah.
gone into his power cut.
Yeah.
I'll confirm by message to him, Iona.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. 6:30. Nice.
Yeah,
Excellent.
See you.
wonderful.
Yeah. See you tomorrow.
You're the host now, apparently.
All right.